So to start the spotlight off, I want to go ahead and give a disclaimer at the start of this one. This is technically the deck that I used to officially hit Legend this season. Earlier this season, because of the expansion, I was trying a lot of different wonky and weird lists, and this is actually the list that ultimately took me from rank 2 up to Legend. But this list is not what I would consider to be a top tier list. I had a lot of fun playing it, and I think that if things change in the meta, there might be room for a deck of this play style. But right now, I would not consider this to be like a top tier list. You're not going to see this at the high Legend top of the ladder. Quite frankly, just because it has two really bad matchups. And those bad matchups are Sorcerer and Ramp Scout, of which are very popular right now. So I just want to give that disclaimer that yes, I did hit Legend with this. I've been maintaining, even with the bad matchups, a slightly better than 60% win rate with it so far this season. I did use it to climb from rank 2 up to Legend because I was having a lot of fun playing it. So without further ado, I'm going to show you my list for Control Assassin. That's right, not Tempo Assassin. You will find no Supreme Atromancers in this list. This is Control Assassin. So let's take a look and kind of talk about the game plan. So this list is going to be different from your typical Assassin list because it focuses heavily on removal and buying time until you can win with late game creatures, such as Odahviing, Parthenax. We use Eclipse Baroness because it's great at card drawing. It's just a great late game creature. There's a reason that some versions of Ramp Scout run it, and so on and so forth. So how do we do that? Well, we use what you would expect, right? Firebolt, Lightning Bolt. This deck in particular also runs Drain Vitality. That card is particularly important in the Sorcerer matchups because this is a card that goes through Ward, and the more you use it, obviously, the better off it gets for you. And that's kind of what you use in terms of your action removal. You know, Ice Storm is really important in terms of fighting off the very aggressive lists and letting you stabilize. And then you kind of complement that removal with creatures that are meant to kind of serve as removal. So Sanctuary Pet is kind of this pseudo removal in the form of a creature. Murkrutter Shaman can basically win you the game against aggro if you can keep it alive. This is slow generating removal, but it's fantastic if you can maintain it. We do run Leaf Lurker. That's typically considered like a tempo card, but in this case we're really just using it kind of for like the 2-for-1. You know, kill something, put a body on the board that you can hopefully trade into something else. And Shearpoint Dragon sticks out like a sore thumb. It's not uncommon that we even use some of our late game finishers for removal. So, you know, Unkano as removal is perfectly fine. Odahviing is obviously meant to be removal. And Parthenax oftentimes will give you shouts that you can then use as removal. He's even that much better if you've already played a couple of Drain Vitalities. So those are like the creature removal aspects. And then in terms of stabilization, this is honestly one of the weaker points of the deck. The only health gain that we have is in the form of Drain. So it's very important that you do not attack early with this deck. Even 1 point of damage can really put you off because this deck relies on Moonlight, Werebat, and Queen Baronzea for your Drain to get healing and stabilize. And with Moonlight Werebat, it has 4 attacks. So if you've attacked even once, you're basically saying that any future time where I have to drain and I have to go face, I'm going to likely break a rune. So it's really important that you just kind of stay put in the early game and don't attack until, you know, you're ready to stabilize and hit that drain, or you're ready to start pushing for the win because you've got control of the board. That's the majority of the list in the nutshell. You will notice there are 2 Dark Rebirths in this list, and that's because there are so many wonderful targets for it that it's hard to not play. Shrieking Harpy and Sanctuary Pet can help lock down targets. If you just need to cycle it, Thieves Guild Recruit sometimes works in a pinch if you're searching for answers, but It's great on Leaf Lurker if you've got things wounded. It's great on Shearpoint Dragon for obvious reasons. On Kano, Odaving, Parthenax. It is an all-star on Eclipse Baroness. On Eclipse Baroness, it basically draws you 2 cards that are both discounted and you keep your body on the board. It's even better if you've traded your Baroness into something and it survived, right? So like you use Baroness to kill a creature and then you go ahead and draw some more cards out of it and your Baroness basically heals herself. Fantastic play with that card as well. So I really like the list. It's fun to play. I think that it could be really strong if the meta was not dominated right now in terms of popularity by Scout and Sorcerer. You do struggle in those matchups because Scout, they've got a late game package and we have a late game package. However, their late game package tends to be not only beefier, but they get to it faster because of the ramp elements. So you're kind of stuck either praying they have a bad draw or trying to race them. It doesn't typically go well. I feel like if we could fit Rift and Pickpocket into this list, that would help with the greed, but it would hurt our early game survivability. So if you're playing against a lot of ramp scouts on the ladder and less sorcerers, let's say in an evening, right? I fully believe in like flex cards that I would consider putting pickpockets in, and then just always picking whatever your greediest option is against the scout player so that you can try to match them, you know, and go toe to toe. That being said, the sorcerer matchup, we have a different problem in that while we do run Drained Vitality and we do run Shearpoint Dragon, our Firebolts really don't help. The Ice Storms are often not that great against Sorcerer, and our lethal creatures don't do anything against the wards, and so on and so forth, right? So Sorcerer is potentially problematic as well because unlike Mage, we don't have Execute, we don't have Piercing Javelin, the hard removal options are not available. Now, again, flex spot options, right? I do think that if you were to add, let's say, Murkwater Witch, that might help as an additional speed bump in the early game. It also does help to deal with some of those pesky ward creatures a little bit better as a potential option. There's a couple of other things that you could try as well, but it's going to depend on how your night on the ladder is going. But the list I'm showing on screen right now is what I would consider to be my general all-purpose list. And then you kind of make some sub-ins and sub-outs as necessary. So, yeah, like I said, I have a lot of fun with it. It certainly can still win, and I was winning despite the bad matchups. So, I really just kind of wanted to show it because some people don't like to play the meta decks all the time. Some people are looking for something new to try, something, you know, just different. So that's what this is, right? Like, this is viable enough that you hopefully just aren't going to lose like 8 in a row. You might. But hopefully it's good enough that you can still feel like you're at least in the games. But again, just like that disclaimer I put at the beginning, if you're expecting to climb to, you know, like top 50 legend, this list is probably not for you. So anyway, this is Control Assassin. Like always, we're going to go ahead and segue into a couple of games that I played with the list. So you can see it in action. And as always, I appreciate you guys watching, and until next time, may you walk on warm sands. Alright, so we're going first. And it's up against Monk. Wow, okay. Looks like he is Monk that has climbed a bit, huh? Interesting. Kind of curious to see if this is going to be Control Monk or some kind of like mid-range pilfer.
They make it too easy.
Sure looks that way. Alright, let's play a game. The name of this game is called Find the Execute.
The Hist will reclaim me.
And or find the Dune Smuggler. Shadow Shift. You know. One of those things. Wow. How interesting. How Interesting. Actually, I think we go ahead and do this. This has the potential to trade. If he has to use a removal on this, it's kind of a win. I expect like Hive Thunder or something. No, he just goes bat. Okay.
My scales move.
We're okay with him actually having a bat. Just because if he gains health, it just helps us. It means that our drains, which are our only source of health gain in this deck, are less likely to crack a room.
Always a plan.
If I fall, the hist will reclaim me.
Interesting, interesting. We're gonna end up playing our second one, and we're gonna go ahead and get rid of this. We fully expect, or at least I fully expect, the Bruma to trade here, but as long as he doesn't have removal for the second one, it's gonna make Sheer Point a pretty quality play the following turn, which will hopefully let us stabilize. So we do have. Ice Storm. Sheer Point's still the play here, though, right? Sheer Point lets us take that out. Lets us curse here for -2/-2, so this survives. Which opens up a potential trade here.
A little distraction might prove useful.
Alright, so actually he'll take that. But that is why we say the word potential.
They make it too easy.
I honestly think that it's just going to be Ice Storm here. As much as I want to keep this alive, the Ice Storm plus the Curse here is like a full clear, and it lets us potentially be pretty reactive still, so let's just go ahead and take that. He's down to 2 cards. We've got a Fistful with at least 1 drain option and some reactive cards, so there we go. Let's develop our queen, but how do we want to do that? Alright, I take it back. We're actually not going to develop the queen yet.
Give me a name.
I'm just going to go ahead and do that. We're going to load up this lane because queen will be able to activate guards on all of these, and then barring a Dawn's Wrath,
If I fall,
I just don't see him taking this out. Yeah, so that's fine. 'Tis fine, 'tis but a flesh wound.
I am the
Alright, we're gonna go ahead and do this, and just kind of preemptively set up Bastard. Even if he has something like Swift Strike, so that this thing could attack twice, it's not enough to burst. Even if he has 2 Swift Strikes, we're still safe. So for now, I think this is fine. We're trying to take the cheap removal option here and develop Queen. Yeah, sure. And if he does have removal, we also have Tazcad to clear. But because he gained all that health earlier, we've got a lot of buffer with our health gain, which is fine. Yep, go ahead. Sit Tazcad, it's going to make clearing easier. He might even just concede after this following turn, because we're about to take full control of the board.
Not amused. The void awaits you.
And we can swing with both of these next turn, but because it's a total of 10,
My fight is
and
done.
it doesn't matter. Like I said, he might just concede, but that's because we've established massive control at that point. So there you go. Pretty good example of what we can do even if we didn't see a lot of our late game. Alright, so we are going first, and it's against Battlemage. I think we keep the 2 and the 3 drop. If it's aggro Battlemage, we want the Werebat hopefully off of Prophecy. Ice Storm is good. Parth is probably a dead card. If it does end up being the aggro Battlemage matchup, and that is typically what you would expect here. If we live to where we're playing Parth, we have probably just already won. Now, there's a chance it could just be Merrick. It's just been a while since I've played against Merrick, legitimately. Alright, we're gonna go ahead and do this, just because this is most likely a trade. We don't get the contract, which is a little sad, but...
Let's do this.
Alright, he whiffs, so he takes the trade. It's fine with us. I'm just gonna go ahead and do this. Fully expect this to Firebolt, but we know it's there, so as long as we can get it out of him, it's probably okay. He's thinking. So, if he doesn't firebolt it, we could potentially like trade it in, and then Leaf Lurker. If he plays something else, then we may just trade into that to try to set up an Ice Storm style board. Interesting. I mean, we do also just plain have Firebolt. We're in a weird predicament because I kind of don't want to waste a Leaf Lurker on that. I kind of don't want to waste even really the Firebolt because that's basically giving him a 2-for-1. I really don't want to attack him because the drain might matter later. So we legitimately might just pass here. That feels like a really awkward play. But I think it's the one that we're going to go with. Almost everything in our hand is reactive, so... See, that's why we leave things the way we are. So, obviously Ice Storm doesn't take care of that. Sheer Point by itself does not, so in this instance we most definitely do that. He will take this trade, but again, that's for the most part fine. At this point, we've kind of put him on merit for sure, so we're going to hold our Ice Storm for Atromancer in all likelihood.
If I fall,
Let's just go ahead and take control of the field lane with that. That also might just bait out the Firebolt that we know that he's still sitting on. He's got a fistful of cards. He's playing very conservative. If he does actually play something over here, we get the potential for a surprise contract. But really, I was just trying to bait the Firebolt. He's thinking.
The forest will not suffer your
I'm
presence.
gonna use the earth bow. That is an interesting decision. So we could answer with our own cheer point, but given that he runs ward creatures, or likely runs ward creatures, I should say, Breton Conjurer, Daggerfall, keeping the sheer point's important. I also don't want to like overcommit to the board if we're just going to end up ice storming next turn, but I really want to try to get a contract. So we're going to do this. Because if we can get a contract, getting this sooner, this has the potential to be a really big deal for us. We don't have any of our other late game cards, so we're basically banking on good old Parth to carry at this point. He still really hasn't shown us a whole lot. Like, we're up to his 8th turn, and he's only shown us 4 cards. There's the Daggerfall. There's Bolt. Oh, the Rebirth. Rebirth has the potential to be very, very solid for us. At this point, he's not hitting us, so I don't think saving space for the drain is too important. So I think that we just go ahead and act like we're going to start pressuring. So in an absolute pinch, we do have a Rebirth and Sheer Point if he plays another nasty ward. But ideally, we'd like to save this for Parth next. Unless he runs Fell the Mighty, he shouldn't have any direct removal. For Parth, Fell the Mighty is the only card that we would fear in that scenario. Otherwise, Parth should survive for a turn, at which point the Rebirth would give us pretty insane value.
The day is mine.
Interesting that he went face there as well. Doesn't respect the lizard. I mean, look at this guy. He's tough. He's in a sandstorm. And he's just hanging out like it's no big deal. Resting on a sword. What? I deal with sandstorms all the time. Interesting. We also now pick up another Rebirth.
Chaos take you.
I don't think we're going to give him 2 runes here. But we are going to do that. Kind of slow play this in. Alright.
Tests us.
The day is mine.
Sure.
Careful there, friend.
So he's got the 1 raiding party. The Queen has the potential to be a pretty big deal.
Chaos take you.
I'll lead my family.
Let's just go ahead and do this.
Attend me.
Again, we have an Ice Storm for the inevitable Atromancer. Merrick is a potential problem. So like if he has Merrick right now, he could load that Shadow Lane, and if he high rolls, the Ice Storm doesn't clear. If he does not have Atro, and if he does not have Merrick, however, it would make our Parth play particularly awesome because of the Rebirth.
I have many important things on my
Alright,
mind.
so he has Ankano, which is a quality play for him. Let's go ahead and see what we get. So we did not get a soul tear, which is usually what you want. You want at least one soul tear so you can keep generating value. But again, if he survives, we do also have Dark Rebirth shenanigans. Because these are free, I don't see an immediate need to peg him down. I don't think we give him a card yet, though. Again, just for the 2 damage, I don't think it's worth it. I think the biggest issue right here is the potential burst damage that he would have from hand. We know he's played 1 raiding party. He's up to 12 magicka plus the ring. So he could theoretically Atromancer for 10 direct damage with the raiding party alone. If he has like 2 2-drops on top of it, that's 14. Incano represents a fair amount of damage as well. Belligerent Giant. Alright. So the Ice Storm does clear the board for us. However, that means that we don't have a second one, which is a little sad for us. But it is sadly the path that we have to take. So now we've found our late game. The problem, however, is that we are dangerously low. So we have a lot riding on that Werebat's survival. And unfortunately, I'm 90% certain he's got at least a Firebolt for this. If he doesn't have it, however, so I got 1 Lightning Bolt left in the deck. He does, however, have 2 more Earth Bones. So I would wager, yeah, that he's got some sort of answer. It does just pass, though, so...
Greetings.
Alright, they really want us to fuss row our dial. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So our biggest problem now is that we are like 100% going to overdraw. But if we don't die...
Elements, I summon thee.
If we don't die, we have potential lethal from hand. So Tazcad plus a Dark Rebirth represents 12 damage. That was very fortuitous. Because that means no raiding party shenanigans. So we have plenty of ways to deal with the board. It's just a question of whether or not I want to give him this Harpy back to get some of these Unrelenting Forces out of my hands. Because unfortunately this does say enemy, so it's not like I can play my own chump guy at any point. So I would in fact have to give him a Harpy to do it, but I think that that's fair. I think that we just want to do it. Saves the Ice Storm.
Let's go then. My time is precious.
We only need 1 more Dark Rebirth for the Tazcad combo, so... We'll do that. So now the question is, does he have second Atromancer? And I think he does. But if he doesn't, we're in a really good spot. He does not. Because again, this represents 12 burst.
It seems Khajiit was outwitted.
He's going to do that in the Harpy, which is fair.
These streets are mine!
We do have 2 Ice Storms. Alright. Again, our biggest problem is
The forest will
the
not
potential
suffer your
burst.
presence.
That is a good sign. I suspect yet another Harpy.
The elements are mine to control.
The forest will not suffer your presence.
Alright, there we go, gang. Yeah, it's a little bit showy, but we worked hard for this, so we're gonna take it. We worked hard for that one. We kind of cut a break that he found no second Atromancer, but we'll take it.